ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम्। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। My sincere gratitude to all devotees from the ISKCON Red Bridge community. My sincere thank you to Jagannath Sharan Prabhu for your kind words of introduction and appreciation, and you've taken me back to memory lane. 2005, my trip to Manor. Thank you, Brajanath Gopal Prabhu, for inviting me. And I can see Kishan Pawan Prabhu also. Thank you, Prabhu, for being there. And all of you, thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my heart on preaching, because this topic is the most dear topic to my heart. And I can go on and on this topic, but I'll honor the time and your time also. And I'll just share my heart for a few minutes, and then maybe questions can come up. Is that the way we'll do? So I'll maybe speak for 10 minutes first, and then if there is any question. So I'll just share my heart, what I've learned about preaching over the years, because from day one I came to ISKCON, I've been preaching, and I've slipped and I've risen, I've struggled, I've burnt myself. There are some scars which are still there, you know. So life is a tough, life is tough, and preaching is not easy. So what exactly is preaching? I'll share my realizations and my heart, and then maybe all of you can ask questions or share your thoughts. So to begin with, I remember one pastime of Srila Prabhupada, because ISKCON is a preaching mission and ISKCON is established by Srila Prabhupada. So once Srila Prabhupada was sitting with a lot of devotees, and one devotee asked, Srila Prabhupada, what would please you the most? What will make you most happy? So there were book distributors sitting in that room. So they thought, they beamed and they said, oh, obviously Srila Prabhupada is going to say book distribution is what pleases him the most. And there were pujaris also there who were worshipping the deities, and Prabhupada had emphasized a lot on deity worship. So those devotees thought, Prabhupada is definitely going to say deity worship is what pleases me the most. And there were fundraisers who thought, well, fundraising is so important because Srila Prabhupada wants to build so many important temples all over the world. And there were devotees who were taking care of farm communities. And they thought Srila Prabhupada always said simple living, high thinking. So what will please Srila Prabhupada the most is farm communities. So you see, everybody was thinking, and of course there were there were devotees who were cooking prasadam for devotees. Kitchen department. They thought obviously Srila Prabhupada would say kitchen serving prasadam to devotees, food for life. That is the most important. So anyway, everybody had their own ideas, and they looked at Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada's answer was very, very endearing to everyone. Srila Prabhupada said, what will please him the most? He said, if you love Krishna. So when I heard this pastime, I understood what is Srila Prabhupada's mood for preaching. Srila Prabhupada's mood for preaching is two things. First, experience Krishna, love Krishna, and second, share that. ISKCON is not an organization for stingy people. We are not stingy, we are not miserly. And if we act miserly and we don't share Krishna consciousness, we are going against Srila Prabhupada's mood. But a beggar cannot be giving charity all the time. So we have to become wealthy, we have to receive grace, we have to receive mercy, and then we have to also preach. And while preaching, we get more mercy. But the fundamental foundation, the foundation of Krishna conscious preaching is experiencing Krishna and then sharing that. Like, for example, I know one devotee who loves to memorize verses. Now, these are the kind of preachers I've seen in ISKCON. He just loves, when he speaks Bhagavatam class, we say, oh, this Prabhu has come from Shloka Loka. Because he just keeps chanting verses. His whole class is verses. So we count verses. Last class he gave, he spoke 110 verses. So some brahmacharis, the entire class, we are counting how many shlokas he quotes. And somebody may say, oh, but he's not giving a practical class. That's okay. He loves verses. Verses are not different from Krishna. So when he's preaching, he's being himself, and there is a market for that also. There are people who love because he's happy. And there are devotees like Gaur Gopal Prabhu who give very practical classes, and he has a huge fan following. And I know devotees who speak pure katha. They speak direct pastimes of Krishna, and they are also very attractive. The point is, what nourishes you, you give that to others. I'll tell you one preacher I know very well. He's been in our temple since 1994. That's how many years now? 26 years, 27 years now he's been in the temple, and he gives Bhagavatam classes in a very soft voice, and many of us struggle to remain awake, and it's a monotonous tone and very simple-hearted person. But do you know, he has preached to the most influential people in our community. He made them devotees. How? Because he loves to distribute laddus. He loves to distribute Mahaprasad in the evenings. So every evening he would sit in the temple and he would give Mahaprasad, and it is a very soft voice. He would speak like this: Hare Krishna Prabhu, how are you? It takes him a long time to complete one sentence. So last 22 years I'm in the temple, 23 years I've been coming to ISKCON, and I've never seen him raise his voice. I've always seen him like this. So externally he's not a flamboyant preacher, but he's one of the most effective preachers. There is one devotee who is a great pujari, and just by his pujari service, he's attracted so many devotees because people come to the temple, they see the deities, they become devotees. And there is one Gaur Gadadhar Prabhu. He is always like this. There's an angry expression on his face. We call him the angry young man. Now we call him the angry old man. He's been in our temple since the year 1990. That's like 31 years, right? And he's always like this. He looks mean, but he is the most loved devotee in our community because he would make sweet rice, he would make cakes, and he would give it to all the children in the community. And the children, they don't know Krishna, they don't know Prabhupada, they don't know who is the Bhagavatam speaker, but they know Gaur Gadadhar Prabhu. Gaur Gadadhar Prabhu, they run to him, they flock around him, and they give them Mahaprasad. And these children have grown up, they have become devotees, and now they have got married, and their children come to temple, and Gaur Gadadhar Prabhu is still giving them prasadam. So who is a preacher? Preacher is someone who is experiencing Krishna and sharing that. So a book distribution is not the only way of preaching, obviously. And we are definitely not like the fanatics of other religions. You know, we're not at all interested in making people see. Most of the religions who preach fanatically, for them, God and God's message is here at the head. ISKCON is not a head religion. ISKCON is a heart religion. It is in the heart that we experience Krishna. It is in the heart that we feel love for Krishna. So we have to, a preacher means somebody who has to constantly ask himself, is the heart being nourished? Are you experiencing Krishna's love in your heart? If yes, congratulations. Now share it with others. So this is the simple understanding of preaching that I have developed, because I realized that there are so many other brahmacharis and other preachers I've seen who have a very different personality, but they're very effective. One of my closest friends in the temple, Manohar Prabhu, he has joined along with me. He is from a simple village background. Every day he's cleaning the temple courtyard. Even now he's 53 years old, and people just love him. Daoji, he cooks. He's 50 years plus. He's been in the temple for 25 years. He's every day cooking prasadam. Everybody in the congregation loves him. So who is a preacher? One who loves Krishna and one who shares Krishna. If you see Srila Prabhupada, have you ever seen Srila Prabhupada prepare for a class? Did he ever have notes while giving class? See, we need notes. We need to memorize so many things while speaking, because we think one thing, we feel a second thing, we speak the third thing. But Srila Prabhupada, thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, everything was one. There was congruency inside out because he carried Krishna in his heart. And of course, we can't be like Srila Prabhupada, we can't preach like Srila Prabhupada, but we all can be instruments in Srila Prabhupada's compassion. I am not a preacher. I am an instrument in Srila Prabhupada's hands who is preaching. Preaching will be successful to our family, to our community, everywhere, if we understand I am simply an instrument in the hands of the Lord and Lord's pure devotees. The problem happens in our preaching when I think, guys, wait, I have come. I am the preacher. I have come to change the world. That's when all the problems begin. But if we understand, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made a big plan to deliver the whole universe. Srila Prabhupada has made a great plan. And I'm going to play my small part in a big plan. Then I will be happy. And the people I preach to will be happy. My family will be happy because they see, oh, he loves Krishna. And when I'm an instrument, I'm a servant. When I'm a servant, everybody will be happy with me. So preaching is not forcing our ideas on others. Preaching can take many forms. Preaching is simply sharing love and giving Krishna the way we experience Krishna. I've seen preachers say, they are chanting and they're miserable chanting their 16 rounds. And they're forcing others, why don't you chant 16 rounds? But Prabhu, are you happy chanting 16 rounds? No, but you should chant. Come on, relax. I know one spiritual master in ISKCON who is so kind to his disciples that some of his disciples fell away. He was willing to accept them even if they chanted less than 16 rounds. He said, it's okay. The point is, are you experiencing Krishna? How are you experiencing Krishna? Krishna as a person, how you experience, and you please share that. So this is in essence preaching, and the foundation of preaching, the qualification of a preacher is understanding that I'm simply an instrument in the hands of my spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada, and naturally humility, because we have no ability. We have to be cognizant of the fact that there are higher powers which dictate, which give us the strength to speak, to remember verses. Like I saw that video of Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest boxers. Time magazine declared him as the greatest sportsman of the 20th century. At one time, when he walked into the ring, people would sing, I fly like a bird, I sting like a bee, I am the greatest, Muhammad Ali. And he would knock his opponents, and he won the gold medal in the Rome Olympics. The same Muhammad Ali in the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, he couldn't even hold the torch of flame. He was struggling so much. And his hands were shaking, the same hands with which he had knocked off one opponent after another. So the point I'm trying to say is, time is so powerful, our abilities will be taken away. So we cannot be proud of anything. A preacher is always humble, aware that he is simply an instrument. So if we have this mood, then we will be very successful in preaching. So humility, understanding I'm an instrument, and also detached. The people I'm preaching to, they are not my property. I can't control them. I'm simply an instrument, and I'm part of a big plan. See, I'll tell you a classic example. When I used to do book distribution for many years, I would sometimes convince a person to take a book for 1 hour, and he wouldn't take a book. And sometimes I would be sitting in the railway station bridge, in the bench, tired after a hard day's work of pre-book distribution. A stranger would come and tap me on the back, and he would pay me 500 rupees and take 8 books. I didn't even preach to him. So that's when I realized that when I'm convincing someone, I'm part of a big plan, because I'm knocking him, and somebody else will also tell him. 100 people will tell him, and he'll refuse. And eventually, somebody like me will be sitting in the bench. He'll go to that person and take a book from him. So no effort goes waste when we are spreading Krishna consciousness. Like, when I'm driving to the temple from my suburban area, I see the billboards for Coca-Cola everywhere. Enjoy Coca-Cola. Enjoy Coca-Cola. Enjoy Coca-Cola everywhere. I see that. So you think, when I see that, when a person sees that advertisement, he doesn't immediately say, okay, I want a Coca-Cola. He doesn't say that. But it influences his consciousness somewhere. So when he goes to a restaurant and he's sitting there and he asks for Coca-Cola inadvertently, without even realizing what he's asking for, it somewhere influences him. So the fact that when we are preaching to someone and I'm trying my best to convince him, he listens to me respectfully and he doesn't take a book, fine. Somebody else, after some months of preaching, after some years, when he gets Sukriti, when he gets pious credits, he will be ready and he will take the book. He will become a devotee. Like, there was a door that was stuck in our temple. I'll end with this and then we can take questions. Our door was stuck and all of us were trying to break the door. It wasn't opening. We have a very strong, well-built man. We were pushing it. It didn't break. Finally, we got tired and we were sitting. One of our devotees, Nityananda Prabhu, is very thin. We always joke about him. Oh, I think you've come from the Somalia relief camp. He looks famished. He looks starved. He's very thin. He came to the door and he just touched the door and the door fell off. So now, did he break the door? Did he have the strength? No, so many people before him did a lot of work. A lot of wind is blowing and the trees are shaking. And then finally a crow comes and sits on the branch and the branch falls off. Now, is it because of the crow? No, a lot of factors have happened. Similarly, a lot of preaching happening, a lot of devotees, a lot of temple. In China, they have a saying, it takes, I know it's not a popular example to quote China nowadays, but in China, they say that it takes 7 people to make a horse drink water. Which means it's not one person's job. Preaching is not one person doing something. It's a whole movement. Srila Prabhupada, our entire parampara, our Krishna, everybody is involved. And we are playing our small, tiny part in helping somebody come close to Krishna. And don't worry, no effort is waste. It's like the scriptures give the example of grass. If you light fire on wet grass, what happens? Will it catch fire? But something good will happen to that grass. It will become moist. If you light fire on moist grass, will it catch fire? No. But it will become dry. And if you light fire on dry grass, it will catch fire. So when we are out preaching, some people are wet grass, some are moist grass, and some are dry grass. That's why you will see some people take up to Krishna consciousness very fast. Some people take a long time. And some people, apparently to our vision, they never take up to the process. But Krishna says in the Gita, there is no loss, there is no diminution in this process. The Gita 2.40 is a very hope-giving verse. So no endeavor goes waste. And of course, preaching is hard work. Telling people about Krishna is not easy. When Indradumna Swami Maharaj came back after a long Harinam Sankirtan, and he came back to the temple, and Srila Prabhupada said, how was the Kirtan? How was the preaching? And Indradumna Swami Maharaj said, Prabhupada, it was so difficult. It was so difficult to convince people to take books and preach. And Srila Prabhupada immediately said, when did I say preaching is easy? It's tough. But Bhurida Jana, Srimad Bhagavatam says, they are most dear to Krishna because they are the most compassionate. They are going out, giving Krishna's message to everyone. So the fun, the happiness we experience, the fulfillment we experience when, as Srila Prabhupada's instrument, we go out and give Krishna consciousness is very, very satisfying. So I'd like to end with one pastime of Srila Prabhupada. I began with Srila Prabhupada's pastime. I'll end with Srila Prabhupada's pastime, and then we can take questions. Once some devotees are with Srila Prabhupada, and devotees are asking the meaning of their names. One devotee said, what is the meaning of my name, Prabhupada? My name is Garga Muni Das. Srila Prabhupada said, the meaning of your name is, you are the servant of Garga Muni, the spiritual master of Vrindavan. Somebody said, what is the meaning of my name, Brahmananda Das? Srila Prabhupada said, Brahmananda Das means one who is enjoying the Brahman experience. Like that, everybody was asking the meaning of their names. And there was Bhavananda Prabhu also there. So he said, Srila Prabhupada, the meaning of my name is Bhavananda Das, means somebody who is enjoying Bhava. Bhava is a word for love for Krishna. So Bhavananda means somebody who is experiencing Bhava, somebody who is enjoying Bhava, love for Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said, no, your name is Bhavananda Das. Bhava means material world. And Bhavananda Das means one who is enjoying in the material world. So devotees are shocked. They said, Srila Prabhupada, your philosophy, what you have taught us is that we can never enjoy in the material world. So how can you give him the name, enjoyer of the material world, Bhavananda? Srila Prabhupada said, no, the only enjoyment in material world is preaching. So when I said Bhavananda Das means he is the one who enjoys preaching, because there is no other happiness in material world, and preaching is something which doesn't happen in the spiritual world either. You don't have to convince anybody there to become a devotee. That is one service which you can do only in the material world. And because that is the mission of Nityananda Prabhu, whose appearance day is coming this Thursday, and he is the most compassionate preacher. Srila Prabhupada is a representative of Srila Prabhupada. So as representative of Srila Prabhupada, we can go all out and preach in our own unique way. If you like to do kirtan, please do kirtan. If you like to cook, please cook. Somehow share Krishna with others. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I wanted to get the ball rolling with the questions, and you shared one story about how you went out on books and you had a long day of books, and you were trying to convince one person for a long, like an hour period, and then it turned around when you sat down and you weren't preaching actively, that somebody came to you. Can you share some other kind of stories from your own experience of when you've seen preaching in action, whether it's be yourself or others, just to kind of highlight some other stories?
Oh yeah, there's so many stories. You'll have to stop me. There's so many stories. You'll have to stop me for other questions. I can see one question here. Can I ask a question, please, by Divya Gaurangi? So maybe I'll answer your question, Jagannath Sharan Prabhu, and then take question from Divya Gaurangi.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Perfect.
Yeah. So now, okay, I can remember one story when preaching. I was preaching in the headquarters of Central Bank of India. Central Bank of India, and they have a huge headquarters, a 15-story building. And during those days, security wasn't so strict. This was 1999. And I managed to enter, and then I had 2 big bags, and then I was distributing books. And one person caught me and said, why don't you go and meet Mr. Khan? So I thought, oh, he's telling me that, okay, I should avoid Mr. Khan. So I said, who is he? He said, he is the big boss here. He will really love you. Why don't you go and meet him? And he had a big smile on his face. So I thought he's sarcastically telling me that you better beware of Mr. Khan. So I avoided him. Then I went after a few more people. Again, somebody said, why don't you go and meet Mr. Khan? So many people kept telling me that, why don't you give books to Mr. Khan as well? I was surprised, and I said, Mr. Khan seems to be a Muslim name, and why would he be interested? So I said, no. But then later on, I thought, Krishna inspired me in my heart. I said, no, maybe I should go to Mr. Khan. If so many people are telling me, means, Krishna wants me to go to him. So I went, I found out where he stays, where is his office. I went to his office. I knocked on the door. I went in, and as soon as I went in, he saw me in tilak. I was shocked. He got up. He said, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I said, Hare Krishna, you're Mr. Khan? He said, yes. please come sit. He made me sit. He got me a hot cup of milk. And he said, I love Hare Krishna. They're so nice. They do so much of food distribution. See, these things, see, in Islam, giving food, charity is considered a very noble cause. And he was very impressed by ISKCON's relief activities. And he started telling me that I love you guys. You're so simple-hearted. And you come to our villages in Mayapur. I'm from Mayapur area. And there are a lot of floods. And you Hare Krishnas come in boats. And you distribute food. I love you, Hare Krishna guys. So, and I'm so happy you came to see me. So then I gave him books. He bought 25 Bhagavad Gitas. And he said, one book I'm going to read, and I'm going to give. And he called his secretary, and he said, you all have to read these books. So it increased my faith in Krishna. It increased my faith in Srila Prabhupada. So, and of course, then he was cultivated by one of our devotees, Mahaprabhu Prabhu. But Mr. Khan was an elderly man by that time. I think he had already retired. He was offering some special services in the bank. I think he's no more now. He passed away some years ago. I don't know the whereabouts details. But the point I'm trying to make is Krishna consciousness is full of surprises. So like this, there are so many stories of so many people becoming devotees. I've met so many people and I've met a crazy man, completely mad man, speaking beautiful Krishna conscious philosophy when he saw me. And rest of the time he's crazy. But when he sees me with books, it's strange, Anyway, so yeah, I'll stop at that. Maybe we can take a question from Divya Gaurangi Mataji. Yes?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Tanut Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We're feeling very blessed to hear you, and it's a very nice class, Prabhuji, very inspiring, and we miss your association due to COVID. Now we used to come to Bhakti Vedanta Manor and give such nice classes with Gaur Gopal Prabhuji, so we hope you can visit us soon when things go back to normal. So Prabhuji, my question is, due to COVID now, even someone like me is getting a chance to share something on Zoom with a small number of devotee Matajis, the Bhagavad Gita class. And so I really liked the point you said that we are instrument and we should be humble. So Prabhuji, I wanted to ask you very practical tips on how to prepare a class. Like say because there are so many ways, and I write notes, so many notes, but there must be a best way, which you are the right person to ask.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked this question. I love this topic also. I love to prepare good classes. But to be very honest, for this session today, I haven't prepared anything. I'm just speaking from my heart. So, after some years, we need to have a balance of two kinds of classes where we spontaneously speak from our heart, and classes in a more formal forum, like in our temple Bhagavatam classes. I actually prepare because I have to be careful of every sentence I speak because it's going online and I'm representing His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. But in forums like this, I just speak my heart out. And because we also need to be authentic, and sometimes when I'm having notes, it's not that I'm not authentic, it's just that I'm representing a reality much higher than me. So how to prepare for a class? Let's say the topic given to you is caste. Holy name is a devotee is beyond caste distinctions. One who chants the holy names is pure, and it doesn't have to be a Brahmana, Kshatriya, black. It doesn't matter what caste, gender. So this is the theme. Okay, you decide to prepare on this topic. So the first step to do is, this is how I grew up preparing for classes, and this is how my confidence in my preaching abilities grew. I stopped looking for any books, any notebooks, consulting anyone. I just didn't do any of those things. I took a paper and pen. I spent half an hour just scribbling down points that I remember on this topic. Whatever you remember. And you will be surprised. You will have huge, so many ideas. That's how devotees get confidence. So just write down whatever random points come to you. Just keep scribbling down the points. So you will have some points after half an hour. And then somewhere you'll get stuck. Like for example, you'll say, oh, I know one pastime of Advaita Acharya, and was it Haridas Thakur or was that somebody else? You make a point there. So like that. So after you've finished it, then you can go and do some research on those points which you are not sure of. So then that class, when you speak, trust me, that will be your class. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So generally, what many devotees do, when they see, okay, they have to give a class on topic of holy name, they go to the Veda base or they go to the Google, they look for all the examples, analogies, jokes, and they compile it and they make it a structure and they speak. But that is coming from their head. I agree we have to use our head, but I feel first we need to connect to our heart. What about that topic that you are convinced about? First, you write down those points and then elaborate. Let's say you have no idea, then you go and hear classes. Like I hear my spiritual masters classes every day or Srila Prabhupada's one class. So when I'm preparing for the class, I'm amazed that some of the points that I heard last week or week before that, it just springs up in my consciousness. And then I go back to the notes of that class and I check, oh, this is the point. Okay, then I add it there. But at least that's my point. So the point I'm trying to make is, first, trust yourself. And then you go back to whatever you have heard last so many years or weeks and clarify. Preacher has to trust himself in the sense, it's not that we are great and we are humble instruments of Krishna and Prabhupada, but we need to, as I said in the beginning, we have to experience Krishna. So what about that topic you have, which has nourished you? So that's the way I prepare for classes. And that's a better way of giving classes. This is my understanding. But of course, if there is a formal occasion, like sometimes in Temple Bhagavatam, like I have to give Nityananda Triyodashi class on Thursday. So what I did, now I can't just speak whatever I want to. So I actually read Chaitanya Bhagavat. I got the verses. I made a whole presentation. So like that.
Thank you, Prabhuji. But obviously your depth of knowledge, your realization, everything is just too deep. Whereas someone like me who's new, obviously I need to make notes, but I have taken this point that it's best to first, even before going on to listening or going on Veda base.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mataji. I'm not saying don't refer to the notes or hear other classes. Do that. But at least you start, at least 10 minutes you spend, you will be surprised by how much you know on that topic.
Yeah. Yes.
That will increase your confidence.
Yes, I've not done that till date.
You try it and then you will get back to me. You will tell me, Prabhu, thank you. I can give a 2-hour class. I'll tell you a classic example. One of our devotees, his name is Jagannath Pran, something. I forget his exact. He is a father of one of my very close friends, Rahul Danet, his father. He was working in Lufthansa. So he was posted, he had to go to Zurich. And there he was standing behind. And he's never given a class in his entire life. He was like a congregation devotee coming to the temple. He's not even initiated then. So, and that was Nityananda Triyodashi day. So the temple president suddenly had to go back for some work. And he heard, oh, who are you? He said, oh, you come Chowpatty, you come from Chowpatty. Hey, and he announced, we have a devotee from Chowpatty coming in the congregation. He's going to give Nityananda Triyodashi festival class. He said, oh, Prabhu, I don't know anything. No, come. And he dragged him, made him sit on the Vasas and he said, see, I have to go and cook the Nityananda Triyodashi feast. Our cook has fallen sick. There is nobody. You have to give the class. He just sat there. That was the first time he sang Radha Madhav in his class, in his life, leading Radha Madhav. And then after Om Ajnana Tamil, he said, I don't know anything on Nityananda Triyodashi. I have not prepared. But Prabhu just forced me. So I will speak whatever I remember. And he had to be stopped after 2 hours because he didn't stop. 2 hours he went on speaking Nityananda Triyodashi festival class and he hadn't prepared anything. You could say, oh Prabhu, it was mercy of Lord Nityananda. It's mercy. But the point I'm saying is, we all have got mercy of Lord Nityananda. Prabhupada wants us to preach. You trust yourself and see the amount of, okay, you may not get many ideas. Fine. Even if you get 3-4 points, you will be confident. Then you ask others. You can hear, there are, audio.iskondesiretree.com. You will find thousands of lectures.
Yes.
Trust me, I also do this. Like I hear others' lectures like Radhika Raman Prabhu from Alachua, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. I hear all their classes. but I don't hear those classes to prepare a lecture. I hear their classes for nourishment, and after the class, I make my own summary of what I learned from the class.
Okay.
And when I write down what I see after hearing 1 hour class of my Guru Maharaj, then I write for 5 minutes the essence. That 5 minutes that I have written is mine. That 1 hour class which my Guru Maharaj spoke, that is his. But when I hear and when I write down what I hear and what I understood, when you write down, whatever you write becomes yours. So you may not write, you can at least scribble it down, some points. Anyway, basically reflection.
Yes.
Reflection, mananam makes shravanam yours. Shravanam, hearing from this ear will go out of this ear. It will remain here in the head. But if you want to take it to the heart, shravanam has to be followed by mananam. Mananam means reflection. Is that okay?
Thank you so much. Yes, Prabhuji, that's excellent, because that's what I do when I hear His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, Guru Maharaj classes. Then I'm literally transcribing as Maharaj is speaking. But now I'm going to, after hearing, as you said, summarize in my words. And that will be...
Yeah, you can do that also. I do that also. When my mind is very distracted, sometimes my mind is disturbed or distracted. So I don't wait for the class to end. I start writing as he is speaking.
Yes.
So that helps my mind stay focused.
Yes.
Because sometimes our mind is so distracted because we are we are dealing with the material energy all the time. I write verbatim. Whatever is speaking, I write verbatim also.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So, just one more question if there is time. So, for example, there is a...
You have to ask Jagannath Sharan Prabhu.
Sorry, we've got another question actually.
Okay.
Sorry, that's okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Rajnath Gopal, you had a question?
Yeah, sure. So I just want to know, is it actually possible for us to preach to our family members? And if so, how do we do it? How do we go about doing that?
It's a little tricky, with family members, because like recently one devotee was getting initiation and he was crying. He said, Prabhu, I've been practicing for 20 years now and I'm today getting initiation and I'm so happy. He's 65. He's saying, I'm so grateful to the Lord that I'm getting initiation, but I'm very sad because my wife has not come for the initiation ceremony to see me get initiation. She just doesn't cooperate and she's not at all happy that I'm getting initiation. So he was connected to the parampara, but he was miserable. So then I sat with him. I said, Prabhu, have you ever tried to, what have you done with your wife? Like, why are you feeling so much pain? He said, from day one, I've been telling her about Krishna consciousness. She's never been supportive. So I said, what is her need? Have you understood her needs? Can you take care of her needs? So then we had a long discussion. The point is, what I'm trying to say is with family, we have to first give them the confidence that we love them. Our love is not conditional on them becoming devotees of Krishna. If my family members know that I love them, regardless of whether they love Krishna or not, then they may be willing to receive. Secondly, even if they don't practice Krishna consciousness the way I want them to practice, at least if they give me their blessings for me to practice, I think that itself is a great, it's a great blessing actually. But I understand when we love someone, we really want them to also chant. We also want them to take up to Krishna consciousness. But, Krishna's mercy is causeless, which means we can't really determine. If we could do it, then it won't be causeless. It has to be causeless. There are some devotees who are great devotees, but their family members are completely uncooperative. And there are some devotees, family members are all devotees, but still they're miserable because of some other problem. Everybody has their share of misery. One Grihastha devotee gives beautiful classes. I told him, you must be so happy, Prabhu. Your wife is a devotee, your children are devotees, everybody is a devotee at home. And he gives such nice classes. He says, Prabhu, but what is the use? I give nice classes, you appreciate me, but when I go back home, my wife points out that Prabhu, you are mentioning this in your class, tolerance, but you can't tolerate this thing. She points out all the faults. She all takes her points from my classes and she scolds me a lot. So he's also miserable. So I see that misery is universal. So why make our lives more miserable by forcing Krishna consciousness on our family members? I would rather suggest that help them see Krishna in what they are doing. I know in one family, the husband is a fixed up devotee of Krishna, but his wife loves quasi-spiritual stuff. Like she loves Axis bars therapy. She loves, all those, what do you call, so many other spiritual organizations which don't talk about Krishna. So he helps her see Krishna in those activities also. He said that's also Krishna in the sense, because that is helping her come to mode of goodness. So because he's appreciating her and what she's doing, she's encouraging him to practice his Krishna consciousness. So it's a win-win. So we may have to do that. We can't really, because we need our family a lot. You have to ask yourself, do you want your family members' love, or do you want Krishna, only Krishna? And if you say, I want only Krishna, then you should experience Krishna. And if you experience Krishna, you may realize that Krishna wants me to love my family members more than making them devotees. And if you even don't experience Krishna, but you want to follow Krishna consciousness strictly to the T, to the, to every letter of the law, then you should be ready to pay the price. You should be ready to pay the price of losing your family. So if your family is important for you, then do whatever it takes to keep your family happy. If family is not important for you, see, many people in the past, what they did, they didn't want to take responsibility for their family life. And when Bhagavatam said, oh, family life is an dark well of something, material existence. So they would, oh, Bhagavatam says that. So they took that as a good excuse. In India, we say that you put gun on somebody else's shoulder and fire. So they put the blame on Bhagavatam and they absolved themselves of the responsibility for their family and for what they. So then they had they felt so much pain later on. They left Krishna consciousness also. So rather than follow Krishna consciousness to the letter of the law, let us focus on seeing Krishna in our family, rather than forcing the family to see Krishna.
Thank you. Kishan had a question. Kishan, would you like to ask your question?
Sure. Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate it.
We can't hear you so well. Yeah, sure, I can ask. So I think he's put a message in. Hold on. He's saying, probably earlier you mentioned how we have to be how can a beggar give away wealth indefinitely, right? And so if we have this feeling that we don't have very much in our Krishna consciousness, should we preach? Can we preach? And I guess where should we preach from if we don't have much to give?
Whatever you have, you share, you'll get double of it. But that doesn't mean you don't have your sadhana. See, there is two things: sadhana, spiritual practices, and preaching. We have to separate the two. Our preaching cannot be our spiritual practice. Spiritual practice is watering the root of the tree. So the nourishment has to be there, because when you chant and when you read Bhagavatam, nobody is going to glorify you. You're not able to influence anyone else except your own heart. But when you're preaching, you are, one of the unfortunate byproducts of bhakti. Bhakti is a great process, but one of the unfortunate byproducts is we get name, fame, and then we start believing all that to be true. And when we especially control people, tell them about Krishna, people listen to you, or you start thinking you're wonderful. Pride is one of the byproducts. Taranga Rangini, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. So one has to be careful. And the only way we can pull out those weeds is by a life of introspection and deep sadhana and spiritual practices. So even if you don't have much realization, but your spiritual practices are strong, you can share whatever you have. Let's say your spiritual practices are not strong also, fine. But you must be doing something you must be liking in Krishna consciousness. There was one boy coming for my weekly program. His name was Raghavendra. He was working as a cleaner in a restaurant, and he was uneducated and illiterate. And he was the second highest book distributor in the month of Marathon. He would carry the books with him, and he would walk some 15 kilometers every day after his working hours. And with great joy, he would go and show the books to people. And they would ask him, and they would know that he's uneducated. And he would say, yeah, I can't read this, but I know many Prabhujis in our temple who are so qualified and they read so well and they love Krishna. So just his natural joy that he experienced, he shared that. So even if you are not having great realizations and you're not studying a lot and you're not actually having a lot of bhakti, but there must be something in Krishna consciousness movement that attracts your heart. It could be association of devotees. So you can tell, when you're preaching, you can tell, I have so many friends. Why don't you come to ISKCON? You'll get so many good friends and such nice people. Something, whatever you like, kirtan, so speak about the holy names. It's a good feeling to have that I'm not qualified. But who is qualified? I mean, if you're waiting to become qualified, I think that's your qualification. To the fact that you're thinking you're not qualified. The moment you think I'm qualified, the way Krishna sees and the way we see, is totally different. When I see myself as unqualified, maybe Krishna is considering it as a great opportunity to preach. In our temple, Chowpatty temple, we have a rule. Whenever any devotee says, I want to give class, he is disqualified. He is never given a chance to give Bhagavatam class. In our temple, we never ask for, I want to lead kirtan today, or I want to give class. That's been the rule since I joined. It's a service given to you. So you are unqualified, but Prabhupada wants you to preach. So it's a service Srila Prabhupada is giving. So if you are looking at preaching as a service, then you can preach even though you are not qualified. See, when you are preaching, you can at best give what you have. But if you are humble and if you think you're unqualified and if you're in the mood of a service, then you will be surprised. You can even give while preaching, you can give what you don't have. You can give the mercy of Parampara. You can give Krishna. You may say, I don't have Krishna. But if you're humble and you do it as a service, you'll be able to give what you don't have. In fact, there are many cases when the preacher himself may be having difficulties, but the audience makes more advancement than the speaker. The audience makes more advancement than the speaker of the Bhagavatam class. I see one question here, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Is that okay, Kishan Prabhu? Can I take this?
Yes, please. Please do.
I see one question from Shobana. Can we preach if we have not been initiated but have been KC for many years? Great. So initiation is a necessary formality, but even if you're not initiated, if you love Krishna, please preach. Please give Krishna to others.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just finally, I think we're about end of time. Can you share one final reflection or anecdote from Srila Prabhupada on preaching, just to kind of end the session? If that's okay.
Srila Prabhupada, many Bhagavatam purports I read. One of the things about preaching that really helps to understand is Krishna consciousness is an emergency, to be honest. People are suffering because they are disconnected from Krishna. So we may not tell this to people directly, but at least in the heart, we need to be convinced about this. And Srila Prabhupada, he had this desperate sense of urgency. He had this sense of emergency. So when he went to America, he writes a letter to India asking for help. Please help me make a temple in America, and I want to preach. And in one of the letters, which has touched my heart very deeply, Srila Prabhupada writes to his friend and godbrother in India saying that, please don't think I am a madman. I know what I am saying when I'm saying that I know how we can all go back to Godhead. Please believe me. And so you can see his desperate compassion and his sense of emergency. And one of the most inspiring pastimes of Srila Prabhupada regarding preaching, there are many pastimes, but one that inspires my heart very much is when Srila Prabhupada was flying from Dallas to New Orleans. And there was some turbulence in the flight, and the plane was thrown off course, and the overhead bins opened, and the things were falling off, and people were panicking, they were screaming. It was as if there was going to be a major accident, disaster. And Srila Prabhupada his hands were in the bead bag, and he was only saying, Hare Krishna, Hare. He was totally absorbed in Krishna. And everyone else was screaming and shouting. Prabhupada's servant was amazed that Srila Prabhupada is so equipoised. And finally, when there was an emergency landing, and there were some, I think, 25 fire brigade and ambulances outside in the airport, and finally the plane landed safely. And when the plane landed safely, people were screaming in joy. Earlier they were screaming in fear, now they were screaming in joy. But this time also Srila Prabhupada was quiet. Hare Krishna, completely equipoised. So this servant was wondering why Srila Prabhupada should be saying something now. Yes, it was like close shave. They had just survived death. What will Srila Prabhupada say? So as he was looking at Srila Prabhupada with great expectation, Srila Prabhupada turned to him and very nonchalantly asked him, so we have landed. So how far is the temple from the airport? That's all he asked. For him, the sword of death hanging above his head didn't make any difference. What I'm trying to say is Srila Prabhupada was so much with Krishna. And that's why he could preach so well. And Srila Prabhupada wanted us to experience Krishna. As I said in the beginning of today's class, what will please Srila Prabhupada the most? If we love Krishna. Because if we love Krishna, we won't be able to stop ourselves. If you love Krishna, nobody has to tell you to preach. Nobody can stop you from preaching. And nobody will tell you, go and preach. Because you will love Krishna. You will want to give Krishna to everyone. So let us meditate on Srila Prabhupada's deep desire to give Krishna, which is coming from a space of experiencing Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. We're so happy that we had this time with you, and we hope we can arrange something like this again in the future. Maybe in person. Who knows? But I think one of the main lessons we need to take away is, like you mentioned about all the different personalities present when they asked Srila Prabhupada at the beginning, what is the most important service and best way of preaching? And in effect, it's about individually expressing whatever we have in our love for Krishna. And then if we share that with others, that will attract them. And you gave so many examples throughout the class of different personalities who attract devotees and would-be devotees in different ways based on their own personalities because they love Krishna. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jagannath Sharan Prabhu. Thank you so much.